She insisted on a private guide. That was the sign. I told myself it was a local secret, a better deal. It cost me my passport, my wallet, and my dignity on that mountain. My cousin is the best. The big companies, they don't know the real trails. I believed her. I wanted to believe. I was 2 months into my retirement in Davao. The pension was tight, but it stretched here. The heat was a blanket you never took off. I spent my afternoons at this open-air cafe on JP Laurel, watching the jeepneys cough smoke, feeling like I was part of something, even if I was just watching. That's where I met Althea. She worked there. Maybe 25. She had this energy. She'd remember my order, ask about my day. Not in that fake customer service way. She made it feel real. I told her I wanted to see Mount Apo, the big one. I said I was looking for a guide. Her face lit up. She told me her cousin was the best, a real local, grew up on those trails. She said the big licensed companies just took you to the boring, safe paths. Her cousin knew the secret routes, the hidden waterfalls, the real mountain. She wrote down a number for me, on a napkin. Her handwriting was loopy, like a schoolgirl's. She told me to ask for June. She said to tell him Althea sent me and he'd give me a good price, cash price. That was the first thing I should have questioned, the cash. No receipt, no company, just a name and a number on a cafe napkin. But I didn't question it. I told myself this was the local way, the authentic experience. I was tired of corporate tours. I wanted the real deal. I called my friend Leo that night, another expat, been here 5 years. I told him about Althea's cousin, June, the private guide. Leo got quiet. Then he told me, flat out, don't do it. He said to only ever use a licensed outfit from the tourism office. He said stories about private guides ending badly were a dime a dozen. He said it was the oldest trick in the book. I heard him, but I didn't listen. I was already picturing it. Me and this local expert conquering the peak. Althea's smiling face when I came back with stories. I felt chosen, like I was being let in on a secret. I called the number. A man answered. June. He had a quiet voice. He quoted me a price that was half what the big companies charged. He said he could take me up a route only the locals used. More beautiful, more challenging. Just for me. I said yes. I agreed to meet him at a gas station on the outskirts of the city at 5 in the morning. Cash only. I hung up. And I felt a little thrill. This was an adventure. This was living. I should have listened to Leo. The warning was the red flag. The cheap, cash-only deal was the red flag. The meeting spot at a gas station at dawn was a red flag. But I talked myself out of every single one. I told myself Leo was just being paranoid, that cash was normal here. That meeting early was just practical. I wanted to believe her, so I believed him. I was going up the mountain with June and a duffel bag full of regrets. June was waiting at the gas station like she said he would be, a quiet man in his 40s, wiry build, a worn backpack at his feet. He gave a single nod when I pulled up, no smile. I told myself that was just professionalism. We loaded my daypack into his jeepney. He told me the trailhead was an hour away, up past Tamayong, that we'd be taking a special route, one the tourists didn't know, for the views. I remember the exact words he used, breathtaking. Althea started texting as soon as we left the city, just checking in, making sure June was treating me right, asking for pictures. It felt like care. It felt like someone was looking out for me. The jeepney stopped on a dirt track. The air was cooler. June shouldered his pack and pointed up a narrow, root-tangled path. He said the main trail was crowded, that this was better. And I wanted it to be better. I wanted the secret, authentic experience. The climb was steep, steeper than I expected. My breath started coming hard. June moved ahead, effortless. He'd stop occasionally, not to check on me, but to let me catch up. He never offered a hand. Althea's texts kept coming, asking if I was okay, saying she was worried about the difficulty, telling me to listen to June. Every message was a little hook, pulling my trust tighter. I'd stop, sweating, and send back a thumbs up, a picture of a fern, proof of life. We came out onto a ridge. The view it was something. Mist in the valleys, layers of green fading into blue. June stood a few feet ahead on an outcrop. He wasn't looking at the view. He was looking down the other side of the ridge, a sheer drop. A thought, cold and clear, cut through the beauty. This man is a stranger. I am alone with him on a remote ridge. I don't know this trail. No one knows I'm here except Althea. And I talked myself out of it. I told myself I was being Leo, paranoid. This was a licensed guide, recommended by my girlfriend. The fear was just my old knees and thin air. I walked over to stand beside him, to claim the view as my own. June pointed to a rock formation across the chasm. He said the trail went behind it, the most beautiful part. He said to watch my step. The ground was loose. I took the step. My boots slipped on the gravel. It was a small slip. I caught my balance instantly. My heart hammered against my ribs. June's hand shot out and grabbed my arm. His grip was iron. He didn't let go. He looked from me to the drop and back to me. His face was blank. No concern, no alarm, just calculation. He said one word: careful. He held onto my arm for a beat too long. Then he let go and turned, leading the way again. My phone buzzed. Another message from Althea, asking how it was going. I didn't tell her about the slip. I didn't tell her about his grip. I typed back, "Amazing. He's a great guide." And as I sent it, staring at the sheer drop beside me, I knew nothing about this man at all. The trail narrowed to a dirt ribbon carved into the cliffside. To my right, rock wall. To my left, nothing. A straight drop into green so far down it made my stomach flip. The guide was ahead, quiet since the ledge, just pointing out a bird. I focused on my feet, placing each step, trying not to think about the emptiness beside me. Then he slipped. Not a dramatic cry, a sharp breath, gravel scuffling, then the sickening crack of something giving way. I looked up to see his safety rope go slack. It wasn't attached to anything. He tumbled, not over the edge, thank God, but down the steep, rocky slope off the trail. A controlled fall. He rolled maybe 20 feet before stopping against a tree. He cried out, half groan, half shout. I scrambled down after him. My heart hammered against my ribs. He lay on his back, clutching his left leg above the ankle, face screwed in pain. He said he couldn't move it. He said he heard the bones snap. I pulled out my phone. No signal, of course. He pointed back up the trail, said his cousin had a van at the trailhead. We needed to get him to a clinic, a private one. The public hospital would take days. That was the first beat, the first internal click. Private clinic, cash only, no receipt. The words from my checklist echoed, but I shoved them down. A man was hurt. I just watched him fall. It took us an hour to get him back up to the trail, him leaning on me, hopping on one foot. Every jolt made him gasp. By the time we reached the parking area, a white van was already there. Althea stood beside it. She ran to us, face pure panic. She didn't look at me. She went straight to the guide, babbling in Bisaya. Then she turned, eyes wide. She said this was very bad. She said her cousin knew a good doctor, but it was expensive. We had to go now. They loaded him into the back of the van. I got in the passenger seat. Althea climbed in back with him. As we pulled onto the rough road, she leaned forward, voice low and urgent. She said the guide was talking about a lawsuit. If the trail owner found out, there could be legal trouble. For me. The second beat. Legal trouble. My brain, not swimming in adrenaline, whispered, setup. Staged accident. But I looked back, saw the man grimacing, holding his leg, heard Althea's shaky breathing. I talked myself out of it. Who would risk a real fall? We drove 40 minutes into a part of the city I didn't know. The clinic wasn't a hospital. A small, clean building with a red cross on the door. They took him inside on a stretcher. Althea followed. She told me to wait, to bring my wallet. I sat in a plastic chair in the empty waiting room. Heavy silence. Muffled voices from behind a curtain. Then Althea came out, hands shaking. She said the doctor confirmed it, a compound fracture. He needed surgery tonight. The initial cost was 80,000 pesos. She said the guide was conscious and angry. He said it was my fault. I'd distracted him. I should pay for everything, plus damages, or he would go to the police. I felt the world tilt. Not the physical world, the one in my head, where this was just bad luck. The demand landed like a physical blow. Pay or face trouble. I looked at Althea, at the fear in her eyes. Fear for me, I thought. Or fear I'd say no. I opened my mouth. I was going to ask to see the x-ray, talk to the doctor myself. That's what you do. You verify. But she cut me off before I could speak. She grabbed my arm, voice dropping to a desperate whisper. She told me not to make a scene. These people had connections. Better to pay and make it go away. She would help me. We could figure it out later. I listened. I handed over my card to the nurse who appeared. I watched the machine print the slip. I signed my name. The first payment, just the start. They said they'd keep him overnight. More fees tomorrow for the surgeon, the anesthesia. Althea walked me back to the van. Quiet now, the hysterics gone. She just looked tired. She said she'd take me home. As we drove, she put her hand on my shoulder. A comforting gesture. She said everything would be okay. We'd get through this together. Her touch and her promise dissolved the last of my suspicion. I believed her. I should have seen the pattern. The private guide, the cash-only accident, the immediate escalation to legal threats. It was a playbook. I was on page 3, following every line. She dropped me at my apartment, told me to rest. She'd call in the morning with an update. I watched her van disappear around the corner. The silence of my room was louder than the jungle. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the receipt in my hand. 80,000 pesos. Gone. I knew, with cold certainty, the call tomorrow wouldn't bring good news. It would bring another number, a bigger one. The slip on the cliff wasn't an accident. The fall wasn't bad luck. It was a step in a dance, and I was still following her lead. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a message from her. 2 words. He's stable. I didn't write back. I just stared at the screen, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The clinic wasn't a hospital. It was a concrete box off a side street in Davao. Fluorescent lights humming, the smell of antiseptic and damp concrete. Althea met me outside. Her face was pale. She told me the guide's family was there, inside. They were angry, talking about a lawyer. The doctor was a tired-looking man in a white coat. He looked me right in the eye and said they needed to operate to stabilize the spine. He said the deposit alone was 120,000 pesos, cash, before they could even schedule. I felt my throat go dry. That was my emergency fund, the last chunk of cash I had that was easy to move. I asked for a breakdown, an estimate. The doctor's expression didn't change. He said it was an emergency. He said if I wanted paperwork, I could talk to the family's attorney, but that would take days, and the guide might not have days. Althea's hand was on my arm. Her voice was a tight whisper. She said they were talking about a criminal case, negligence, that I could be prevented from leaving the country. That was the new number. Not just medical, legal, lost income for the guide's family, a settlement to avoid a suit. It stacked up in my head, a tower of zeros. I remember thinking, this is how it happens. This is how you get cleaned out, one justified emergency after another. But part of me argued back. A man was hurt because of my hike, my idea. The guilt was a heavier weight than the doubt. I told the doctor I needed to go to the bank. He nodded like he'd expected that. He said to come back with the deposit by 3, or the bed would go to another patient. I didn't go straight to the bank. I drove around. My phone rang. It was Leo. His voice was flat. He asked how much this had cost me so far. I told him. The silence on the other end was longer than it should have been. He finally said it. He said the whole story smelled. He said private guides in the provinces don't have families that hire lawyers that fast. He said clinics that need cash deposits before treatment usually don't treat anyone. I got defensive. I told him he wasn't here. He didn't see the guy fall. He didn't see the x-rays. Leo just said one more thing. He said to check my own footage. I'd mentioned I had my phone out, recording the view right before the slip. He said to watch it, before I handed over another cent. I pulled over. My hands were shaking. I found the video. The last few minutes of the hike, the wide shot of the canyon, the sound of our breathing. Althea's voice, off camera, pointing something out. And then I saw it. The guide was ahead of me. He turned. He looked back, right at the camera, right at me. He nodded, almost imperceptible. Then he took his next step onto a perfectly flat, broad part of the trail, and he just crumpled. He didn't slip on loose rock. He didn't lose his footing. He folded. I played it again, in slow motion. The nod, the step onto stable ground, the collapse. It wasn't a fall. It was a performance. Now I knew what it was. I knew what it was. My passport. It must have slipped out of my pocket. I played it again, frame by frame, right before the nod, before he turned to look at the camera, his left hand. It wasn't gripping the rock face. It was down by his hip, and in it, a small knife, a utility blade. I watched his fingers work, the subtle sawing motion against the taut yellow safety rope. He wasn't checking his gear. He was cutting it. A clean, pre-weakened slice, just enough to fail on command. My stomach turned to ice. It wasn't a performance. It was a demolition. My trust was the structure, and he had the charges. I didn't call Althea. I didn't text. I drove straight to the Davao City Police Station. Not the barangay outpost. The real one. I showed them the video. I showed them the bank transfers, the fake invoices for the hospital. The officer, a serious man with tired eyes, asked me questions for an hour. He asked why I didn't come sooner. I told him I was afraid. He told me being afraid is what they count on. They moved fast. They picked up the guide from a roadside eatery. They found Althea at a money remittance center, sending a wire. They had my cash in a plastic bag. 500,000 pesos. But it wasn't a victory. It was evidence. They brought her in. I watched from another room. She didn't see me. Her face was hard. Not the soft, worried face from all those phone calls. This was the real face. The one that calculated. The one that directed. The officer came back to me. He said they'd been running this scam for 2 years. They had a network. Fake doctors, forged medical certificates. They'd pick a target, build the story, and then create the emergency. Always outdoors, always a private guide. He asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. He asked me why I finally came. I told him about the video, the nod, the knife. He nodded himself. He said that's usually how it ends, not with a shout, but with a quiet, terrible detail you can't unsee. I left the station. The sun was brutal. I stood on the hot pavement. The refused video calls, the way she always steered me toward cash. How defensive she got when I mentioned a second opinion. Every sign was there. I paid for the privilege of ignoring them. The money was evidence. I wouldn't get it back for months, if ever. But that wasn't the loss. The loss was the map I threw away, the due diligence. Talking to other expats, checking a guide's license, insisting on a registered clinic. Basic things, the things you do to protect yourself in a new place. I skipped them all for a smile and a promise of adventure. I got in my rented car. I didn't look back at the station. I drove toward my apartment. To pack. To leave. The lesson wasn't about her. It was about me. Trust is a tool. You have to know when you're using it to build something and when you're just handing it over to be used against you. I knew what it was now. It was a cut rope. and I was the one who handed him the knife. I left Davao with a half-empty suitcase and a full understanding of my own naivete. The red flags were all there. The private guide, the cash-only pressure, the defensive anger over a second opinion. The lesson is this: when someone fights your due diligence, that is not a red flag. That is the entire parade. The characters, incidents, and dialogue in this video are dramatized for narrative and entertainment effect. While some events may be inspired by real-life themes, this story is a work of fiction.